Welcome to RWG Publishing and to the Deep Dive. We're really glad you could join us. Our whole goal here is to, give you that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. We take the sources, boil them down, and give you the key insights. And today, we're diving into something truly vital, I think. It's about American freedoms, but maybe not in the way you usually hear about them. Our source is a really fascinating book, Rights on the Ground: Practical Audits of American Freedoms by Bill Vincent. So the mission for this deep dive, it's really to unpack the book's main idea, which is that freedom in the U.S. isn't some static thing locked away in a document. It's alive. It breathes. And it absolutely depends on vigilance, on active participation. We'll explore how everyday people, the unsung heroes, as the book calls them, actually protect these freedoms. They do it through these practical audits, shining a light on government, ensuring accountability. It's all about understanding the power you have. Okay, so let's start where the book does, back to basics. Sort of, reminding us these freedoms didn't just appear, right? They've got deep roots in philosophy and real historical struggles, and they're still evolving.
That's right. And Bill Vincent really highlights how the framers were leaning heavily on Enlightenment thinkers, like John Locke. Locke's ideas about natural rights, life, liberty, property, they were revolutionary back then, challenged the whole idea of absolute monarchs. It really laid the intellectual foundation for thinking differently about power and rights.
And it wasn't just theory for the colonists, was it? They felt British rule directly impinging on those rights. Things like the Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts. These weren't abstract issues. They were seen as direct violations. No taxation without representation. That famous line. It wasn't just a slogan. It was a demand for self-rule based on inherent liberties.
Precisely. And the book connects those grievances directly to our founding documents. The Declaration of Independence asserting unalienable rights, and later the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. They weren't just statements of ideals. They were designed as practical frameworks. Frameworks meant to actively protect these liberties, building in a role really for the citizenry to uphold them.
Which brings us neatly to this core idea in the book. Protecting rights isn't just for judges or politicians. It emphasizes the work of what it terms citizen auditors. So what exactly does the book mean by that? Who are these people?
Well, citizen auditors are essentially ordinary individuals. Could be anyone, really. Your neighbors, people in your community. They take it upon themselves to, watch what the government does, look closely at public policies, and importantly, demand accountability. Their motivation might be civic duty or maybe a personal experience, but they act as this crucial check on power. The book argues it's fundamental for democracy.
That sounds incredibly important. So when we talk about audits, what does that actually look like in practice? It's not financial auditing, I assume.
No, don't usually in the financial sense, though sometimes public records are involved. It's more about observation and documentation. The book gives lots of examples. People using smartphones to record police interactions, that's a big one. Filing Freedom of Information Act requests, the FOIA request to get government documents, or even just consistently showing up at local council meetings, watching proceedings, maybe speaking up. The main point, I think, is that rights aren't guaranteed just because they're written down. They need active defense, constant vigilance.
And the book really drives this home with some powerful examples. Real people, real impact. It shows how diverse these actions can be. From, one person's brave act to more organized group efforts. Like Darnella Frazier, she was just 17 when she filmed George Floyd's murder in 2020. That smartphone video she took, it became absolutely central evidence. It sparked a global movement, massive calls for reform.
A truly pivotal moment captured by an ordinary citizen acting as an auditor in that situation. And the book also looks at collective action. Take the Flint water crisis. Residents themselves started testing the water, right? They gathered the evidence, exposed the dangerous lead levels when officials weren't listening, and that citizen-led effort eventually led to criminal charges, a national conversation about environmental justice. Huge consequences.
And then there are figures like Edward Snowden. His leaks about NSA surveillance in 2013 were monumental. Exposed mass data collection, led to huge public debate, and even legislative changes like the USA Freedom Act. A different kind of audit, but an audit nonetheless.
Definitely. Challenging government secrecy through disclosure. The book also mentions collaborations like ProPublica working with citizen auditors. They crowdsource data to build public databases, like tracking police disciplinary records, uncovering patterns that might otherwise stay hidden.
So these aren't just anecdotes. They're proof, really, that this kind of vigilance works. It actually changes things.
Okay, the book then walks us through specific rights, specific amendments, and how citizens audit those. Let's get into some of those. Maybe start with the First Amendment, free speech, free press. That seems fundamental to auditing itself.
Absolutely. And the book traces the evolution here. Early on, especially in wartime, speech protections were narrower. Think Schenck v. United States. But over time, the courts expanded protections significantly, moving towards the imminent lawless action standard in Brandenburg v. Ohio, meaning speech is protected unless it's directly inciting immediate violence or illegal acts. Even symbolic speech, like flag burning, got protection.
And that wider protection is key for these auditors, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely crucial. It means they have broad latitude to document, to criticize, to question authorities, even if it's uncomfortable for those in power. And for the press, landmark cases consistently push back against government censorship, prior restraint, protecting that flow of information. So how does this play out today, especially with citizen journalism? Everyone has a camera in their pocket now.
That's the thing. It means ordinary people can act as journalists. The George Floyd video is the starkest example, maybe.
Right.
But also think about reporting from Ferguson in 2014. A lot of that was citizen footage, challenging official stories, giving voice to people on the ground. It fills gaps, provides different perspectives. It really underscores that a free press isn't limited to legacy media outlets anymore.
But it's not all smooth sailing, is it? The book mentions challenges.
Right. Citizen journalists face things like social media platforms taking down content, potential defamation lawsuits, difficulty getting the same access as traditional media.
Interesting. So there's this tension.
Exactly. The constant tension between, maximizing free expression and navigating the complexities of information and misinformation in the digital age. Bill Vincent really digs into that. And look, if these examples are making you think about your own role or you want more practical advice, we really do recommend the book, Rights on the Ground. Check out the link in the description for this deep dive. It's on Amazon. Worth a read.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift gears. What about privacy? The Fourth Amendment. Protection from unreasonable searches and seizures. That feels very relevant to citizen auditing.
Hugely relevant. And this is where auditors get very practical, testing the boundaries in everyday encounters like traffic stops. The book talks about people doing compliance checks, asking those key questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go?
Why is asking that specific question so important?
Because it clarifies the legal situation. If you're free to go, then any further interaction or search needs your consent, generally. If you're detained, different rules apply, but it establishes the context.
And the crucial part is you can refuse a search if there's no warrant or probable cause, right? Even if an officer asks nicely.
That's exactly it. And the book points out, based on cases like Schneckloth v. Bustamante, police don't actually have to tell you that you have the right to refuse.
Wow. So knowing that right yourself is critical.
It's everything. Your knowledge becomes the shield. Passivity can imply consent, but actively asserting your right changes the dynamic. And think about the exclusionary rule from Mapp v. Ohio. Evidence found through an illegal search generally can't be used in court. That's a major deterrent against violations and a vital protection if your rights are violated. It gives the Fourth Amendment teeth.
And what about recording the police during these encounters? That seems like a core auditor activity now.
It absolutely is. The book highlights cases like Glick v. Kneff. That case helped affirm what many courts see as a clearly established First Amendment right. The right to record public officials, including police, performing their duties in public spaces, subject to reasonable time, place, manner restrictions, of course.
That feels like a really powerful tool for accountability.
Immensely powerful. It turns bystanders into potential witnesses, creating a record. The book gives this great example of an auditor named Carla. She filmed an officer searching someone's vehicle at a bus station, apparently without consent. The officer confronted her. But Carla just calmly stated her right to record, didn't interfere with the search itself. The video ended up going viral. It led to public outcry, an internal police review, and eventually new departmental guidelines on search procedures in her city.
See, that's incredible. One person's recording leads to actual policy change.
It shows the ripple effect these individual audits can have.
Okay, let's touch on the Fifth Amendment, too. The famous line, "You have the right to remain silent." We all know it from TV.
Right, the Miranda warning. Miranda v. Arizona established that before a custodial interrogation, meaning you're in custody and being questioned about a crime, have to inform you of your right to silence and your right to an attorney. It's a safeguard against coerced confessions, against unknowingly incriminating yourself.
But again, the book points out nuances, right? It's not as simple as hearing the warning means you're safe.
Exactly. The key is custodial interrogation. Police don't need to Mirandize you for casual conversation or even questioning before you're formally in custody. So you could potentially say incriminating things before the warning is required.
So what's the practical advice there from an auditor's perspective?
Be proactive. Auditors emphasize asserting your right to remain silent early, even if the interaction seems minor or friendly. Don't feel pressured to talk. Their work often documents the psychological pressure in police encounters. Recording these interactions helps ensure fair treatment, helps uphold due process. Due process meaning, fair legal procedures, transparency. Auditing helps make sure that's real on the ground, not just a legal theory.
The book sounds very positive about auditing, but it doesn't shy away from the difficulties, does it? It acknowledges it's not always easy.
Not at all. It gives a very balanced view. Citizen auditors face real pushback. Sometimes it's legal. Things like SLAPPs, strategic lawsuits against public participation. Lawsuits basically designed just to silence critics through expensive litigation.
That sounds intimidating.
It is. And beyond lawsuits, there can be direct intimidation, harassment, social backlash, people getting labeled as agitators or troublemakers just for asking questions or filming in public.
So, given those risks, how does the book suggest auditors operate effectively and, well, ethically? How do they maintain credibility?
Ethics are really central to the book's discussion. It stresses the importance of several key things. Accuracy is paramount. Avoid spreading misinformation that undermines everything. Respecting privacy, especially of uninvolved private citizens. The focus should be on public officials, public actions. Avoiding deliberate provocation just to get a reaction. That can backfire. Being transparent about why you're there, what you're doing, and focusing audits on decision makers, generally not necessarily rank-and-file employees just doing their jobs.
So, sticking to those principles helps build legitimacy.
Absolutely. It strengthens public trust and support for the auditing movement itself, making it harder to dismiss legitimate criticism.
And despite the challenges, the book makes it clear these audits do have a real impact. You mentioned some policy changes earlier.
Yes. The book is full of success stories, concrete legislative wins. Things like police transparency laws getting passed in California, like SB 1421, opening up misconduct records, changes to water quality standards in Michigan after Flint, even local things like temporary bans on facial recognition tech in schools in New York, driven by concerned parents and activists.
So these aren't just isolated incidents, they add up.
They really do. They show that persistent, organized, often grassroots efforts can shift policy. They can overcome resistance. They foster a culture where accountability is expected.
Wow. Okay, so this whole deep dive into rights on the ground, it really brings home that core message, doesn't it? American freedoms aren't just historical artifacts, they're active. They depend on people refusing to be passive observers.
It's a powerful reminder, I think. Vigilance, engagement, they aren't just nice ideals. They're essential parts of keeping a democracy healthy and responsive. Every action, every audit, every informed question you ask it contributes. It strengthens that foundation of accountability.
So the final thought for you, our listener, it really feels like an invitation to get engaged, to really know your rights, and importantly, to recognize the power you actually have to influence things, to shape society. Your voice matters.
It truly does. The future of these freedoms really rests on citizens caring enough to understand them, defend them, and pass them on. It's an ongoing project.
And if you want to dive deeper into how to do that, get inspired by the stories, and learn the practicalities, we absolutely recommend the book again. Rights on the Ground, Practical Audits of American Freedoms by Bill Vincent. The link to find it on Amazon is right there in our description.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Dive Podcast.